There's a specific second when it hits her. Not when you leave, not when you stop texting, but weeks later, when the noise finally dies. She's alone, scrolling late at night, and suddenly your absence gets loud. Here's the dark psychology nobody explains. The human mind doesn't panic at loss immediately. It delays it. It protects itself. At first, she feels relief, power, control. She tells herself she'll replace you easily, that you were just a phase. But then something cracks. She notices no one challenges her anymore. No one grounds her. No one sees through her masks. And that's when the ego collapses. Because you weren't just a person. You were regulation. You were emotional stability she didn't even know she depended on. And when her nervous system realizes that source is gone, it starts rewiring itself. What happens next is where it gets dangerous. This is the phase where regret turns obsessive. Here's where the illusion breaks. She starts replaying moments she once dismissed. Your calm when she was chaotic. Your silence when she tried to provoke. Your consistency when she tested boundaries. Dark psychology calls this delayed valuation. The brain only assigns true value after loss is irreversible. Now the comparisons begin. Every new man feels thinner, louder, less grounded. They chase her, but they don't anchor her. And that's when panic mutates into fixation. She tells herself she doesn't miss you. She misses the way she felt around you. But that's a lie her mind uses to avoid responsibility. Because what she actually lost was someone who saw her patterns and didn't flinch. And that terrifies her. So she checks your social media, once, then twice, then daily, looking for proof you're suffering too. But what she sees instead changes everything. What she sees isn't sadness, it's absence. No vague posts, no late-night quotes, no signals meant for her. And that's when her brain spirals. Dark psychology explains this as ego injury. Rejection hurts, but indifference shatters identity. Because if you're not reacting, then maybe she wasn't as powerful as she believed. Her mind scrambles for control. She rewrites history. You were lucky to have me. He'll regret this. But the nervous system knows better. She starts remembering things she once minimized. How you stayed calm when she withdrew. How you didn't chase when she pulled away. How you let her choose, even when that choice cost you. That restraint now haunts her, because only two types of people don't chase. Those who don't care, and those who know their value. She needs to know which one you are, and soon she's going to test it. The test never looks like a test. It starts small. A reaction to an old photo, a random text, a breadcrumb disguised as curiosity. Dark psychology calls this validation probing. She's not reaching out because she misses you. She's reaching out to measure her remaining power. If you respond too fast, she relaxes. If you respond too warm, she regains control. But if you don't respond at all, that's when the anxiety spikes. Because silence forces self-confrontation, and she's been avoiding that. Her mind starts racing through worst-case scenarios. What if you moved on emotionally before she noticed? What if someone else now occupies the space she assumed was permanent? The realization creeps in slowly. You weren't waiting, you were detaching. And detachment is irreversible. Once the brain registers that, desire transforms into something darker, fear. Fear doesn't stay quiet for long. It morphs into urgency, sudden nostalgia, selective memory. She starts romanticizing you, not who you were, but who you represented. Dark psychology calls this retroactive idealization, when the mind upgrades the past to punish the present. Now every flaw she focused on disappears. Your boundaries become strength. Your calm becomes safety. Your silence becomes maturity. And here's the dangerous shift. She's no longer thinking about connection. She's thinking about loss prevention. Because losing you now doesn't just mean loneliness. It means she miscalculated. And ego hates being wrong more than it hates pain. So she tells herself a story. That door isn't really closed. And once that belief forms, her behavior changes. This is the phase where she stops hinting and starts pulling. But what she doesn't realize yet is that pulling only works on people who are still attached. And you aren't. This is where the shift becomes visible. Her tone changes. Softer, warmer, almost unfamiliar. She mirrors your old phrases, your humor, your values. Dark psychology calls this identity mirroring. When someone senses loss, They unconsciously reshape themselves into what they think will restore attachment. But here's the mistake. She's performing a version of herself that no longer exists in your reality. Because while she was recalibrating, you were rewiring. You learned how peace feels without chaos, how clarity replaces confusion, how silence can be calm instead of threatening. And she can feel that difference. Your responses are neutral, measured, polite. No emotional hooks. That's when her confidence cracks, because attraction feeds on uncertainty. And now she's the uncertain one. For the first time, she realizes something terrifying. You don't need closure, and that means she might never get another chance to matter. This is where regret turns physical. She feels it in her chest, a tightness she can't logic away, a pressure that shows up at night. Dark psychology calls this somatic regret, when the body reacts before the mind can defend itself. She replays arguments she once won, moments she withdrew to gain leverage, times she assumed you'd always stay. And now the pattern is clear. You didn't leave impulsively. You left after understanding. That realization hurts more than abandonment, because it means you saw the whole picture and still chose peace over her. So she fantasizes about a conversation, an apology, a reset. But there's a problem. Apologies restore balance only when the other person still wants equilibrium. You don't. Your nervous system has already categorized her as past threat. And when someone realizes they lost access to you permanently, their mind does something extreme. It rewrites identity itself. Now she enters the most unstable phase, identity collapse. Without you reflecting her worth back to her, she feels strangely undefined, unanchored. Dark psychology explains this as mirror loss. When someone loses the person who stabilized their self-image, she tries to compensate, posts more, laughs louder, dates faster, but none of it lands, because external attention can't replace internal grounding. Every new connection highlights what's missing. They don't see her the way you did. They don't challenge her patterns or tolerate them. And here's the quiet truth. She didn't lose a relationship. She lost a version of herself that only existed with you. That's why it hurts in a way rebounds can't fix. This is when she starts telling herself the most dangerous lie. If I just get him back, everything stabilizes. But by the time someone reaches this realization, the dynamic has already inverted. You're no longer the one chasing meaning. She is. This is where the final mistake happens. She reaches out, not subtly this time. Honest, emotional, exposed. Dark psychology calls this last access behavior. When the mind senses a door closing for good, it abandons strategy. She admits things she never could before. Regret, fear, self-awareness, maybe even love. But something feels off, not fake, just late. Because timing isn't cosmetic. It's structural. You don't feel relief reading her words. You feel distance. Like hearing a song from a past life. That's the irreversible shift. Attraction requires tension. Trust requires consistency. But respect requires self-alignment. And you found that alignment without her. She senses it immediately. Your response lacks hunger. There's no emotional pull. And in that moment, she understands the truth she avoided the entire time. You didn't lose her. She lost you. This is the part no one warns her about. After the regret, after the reaching out, after the silence becomes permanent, what's left is accountability. Dark psychology teaches this final law. The mind can survive rejection, but it struggles with self-caused loss. Because now there's no villain, no betrayal, no story where she's the victim. Only patterns, choices, moments she assumed didn't matter. She realizes you didn't leave to hurt her. You left to save yourself. And that truth forces a fork in the road. Some women numb it. They distract. They repeat the cycle with someone new. But others transform. They finally examine why they tested love instead of protecting it. Why they confused control with attraction. Why they waited until safety was gone to value it. And whether she grows or collapses, one thing is permanent. You became the reference point. The standard she measures everyone against. Not because you were perfect, but because you walked away aligned. And that is the moment she realizes she didn't just lose a man. She lost access to the version of herself that mattered most.